Hello. Now let's talk about what you're gonna do with your mail if ever you go on a vacation or you decide to move out. Some people, I live in New York, and a lot of people goes down on vacation for 3 months to Florida, to where it's a little bit warmer down there, and they don't know what to do with the mails that they get in their current address. So what we usually tell them is to file for a change of address. They have two options. The two options would be file for a change of address or um, premium forwarding system. The premium forwarding system costs money because every week the post office will be going to send that whole bunch of mail going to the address without you trying to go into the system of changing the addresses. So they don't want to go through that aggravation of having to wait for their mails to come in and then losing the mails in the system and whatnot. So they would rather do an option with premium forwarding system, and it costs money for the premium forwarding system. So every week the premium forwarding system is a service that the local post office, they will give you a form. If you're going to go to the local post office, they will give you a form for the premium forwarding system. I don't have that form right now with me, but they will give you a form, and you will have, like, let's say 3 months you want it down there to Florida or wherever you're going to be, and for that span of 3 months the form is asking you to fill out when do you want your mail to start getting to Florida. So if you want it, it's always every Wednesday of the week. So every Wednesday, those bunch of mails will be sent out to you on priority box. So you're not basically having to worry about where the mail is. You don't have to worry about changing your filing for a change of address. So it's the clerk in the local post office who will be going to process all of that for you. So all your mails for that week is being gathered, and every Wednesday that is being sent out to you. So for the duration of, let's say, 3 months that you're going to be away. For the 3 months, they will hold your mail. Let's say you move out Monday, but you wanted to start to be sent out on Wednesday. You have an option to put a hold of your mail before instead of being delivered to your house. So you're gonna receive that box of priority mail or envelopes with all your mails during the time that you weren't there anymore. So every week it has to be sent out to you, and then that's when you don't want to go through with the hassles of filing for the change of address and everything. That costs money. And then I think it's the application, if I'm not mistaken, it's in between $20 and $25. And then every week that it has to be sent out to you, same price, $25 for every week that it has to be sent out to you. So some people would pay that much money because they don't want to deal with the aggravation of losing mails and then the mails is going here and there. So they would rather pay that money. But for those ones who don't want to shell out money for that service, they have an option for change of address order. So you go to the post office and then you ask for a change of address form. So this is the change of address form right here. And in the change of address form, it will ask you right there. Let me get a pen here. Hold on, I'm gonna have to fish out of my bag. Okay. I have it. All right, in the change of address form, you have an option here. Individual, if you're gonna take a look at here, it says right here, individual, enter family, or business. So if you are an individual with your business on it and you want to move your clinic somewhere or you want to move your business somewhere, and you can actually check individual and then the business right here, business right there, right there. And then you write down the last name, your first name, and then the business name right here. And then on this form is the old address. Right here is the street on the top. And then apartment number on the second line. Old city. And then the state. And the zip code right down here. Right down here. There's the zip code. And then at the bottom is the new address. And then you sign it. And you put the date on. But the clerk is going to review it before it gets out. That is if you are going through the window. But some people don't do it that way. They would rather just drop it in those blue boxes out there. But the problem with that is if it goes through those blue boxes, the blue boxes, USPS boxes that you see out there, and it gets collected, every day it gets collected, and that change of address form goes to the raw mail. So it gets processed by the machine without having to be reviewed by the clerk. And a lot of times, if there is a mistake that was written on here, that's when the mistake with the whole process of the change of order occurred. Like people are not getting their mail, and then they're not getting it in the new address, they're not getting it in the old address. But what happens is if there is a mistake with the zip code, with the number of the house, or with the apartment number, or there is a mistake somewhere around here, that's when their mails gets all over the place in between the old address, the new address, or it gets to a forwarding facility, or sometimes it gets back to the sender. So I would recommend that when you file for a change of address, please do yourself a favor, go to the clerk and have the clerk review it together with you. They will patiently review it together with you. And then right here on this one here, this is kind of tricky because a lot of times people would file for a change of address with their last name, and then here they check it enter family. They don't check it as individual. They sometimes just check enter family. And so what happens is if you have somebody in the house that is not moving out with the same last name as yours, let's say a brother, a sister, cousin, father, mother, son, daughter who has the same last name as you, their mail, they're not moving out together with you, or they're not moving out somewhere else. Their mail is gonna be going forwarded to the address that you put on here on the new address. I have seen a lot of mistake on that one. When a son or a daughter move out and then they check enter family. So that whole house mail with the same last name on it will be forwarded. So without the father knowing about it, or without the mother knowing about it, or without the brother knowing about it, his mails are being forwarded to the new address. That's why it's important to have a review with this with the clerk. It's like an honest mistake that most people do. So I really suggest that you go through with a clerk before you send this out. Don't drop this in those blue boxes. I don't recommend that. Excuse me. And then one thing is with the change of address, it doesn't take effect right away. Right here, it shows up as a start date. The start date technically is being written as the date that you went to the post office and handed it over to the clerk. It doesn't start, you don't put the start date as the day when you move out. When some people move out already and then they file this later on. So you don't put the start date on the day that you move out. You put the start date on the day when you handed it over to the clerk. And then you have an option here if the move is temporary or not. So if it's temporary, meaning you're still going back to the old address, you're just going on vacation for 3 months, you can have an option for temporary. And on the temporary, it will ask you for the ending date. So once you put that ending date on here, once that ending date takes effect, automatically you don't need to file for another change of address from where you were going back to your old house. You don't have to do that. It automatically goes back to your new house because you have an ending date right there. So it automatically, everything goes back to your old address again. That's for the temporary move. But if you are moving permanently, you're not going back to that old address, you have an option here to say no. And then you don't have to put any date because you're not going back to the old address. So this one, once it's filled up, the starting date, let's say today. You hand it over to the clerk today, and you put the starting date today. It doesn't take effect right away because this form, it has to be mailed out to a forwarding facility in that area. So let's say the forwarding facility within that state handles all of this. They don't handle any other mail, so they handle this. They are the ones in charge of it. So from the local branch, this is being sent out to a forwarding facility. And the local branch doesn't have an authority to send out your mail or forward your mail without receiving any sticker. The sticker usually comes in a yellow sticker or a white sticker that goes to the local branch. They send it out until we get those tools that we are allowed to forward the mail. That's the only time that we can forward your mail. But otherwise, we're not allowed to send it out. We have to wait for them. And then on your side, you will get a confirmation letter. There's a letter that comes in your mail. They will mail it to you. It's either on the old address or the new address. They will mail it to you. And on that letter, they will inform you that you have filed for a change of address. So once that gets through, you just have to wait for your mail to go to the new address. But the thing with that one is, since this is being sent out to a forwarding facility, it takes about 14 days before you get any mail into your new address. So let's say, for example, this was filed today. So the date here is start date is today. So from today until 14 days, your mail is still going to the old address, whether you move out or you did not move out yet. So it's still going to the old address. So once that happens, whether you move out or not already, I usually recommend for the customer to put a hold of their mail. So they say, well, I can't be there. I will not be there anymore, and I'm moving out in 2 days from now, and how am I supposed to get my letter when you guys are gonna still be going to deliver it when I'm not there? So if that happens, some people are okay with it, some people are not okay with it, because their mail, once it gets back, once the other people in there, whoever moves in there or whoever was in there or still there in that old address, they turn it over to the mailman, and then they say they don't live here anymore. The mailman brings it back to the post office, and then the procedure is we send it back to the sender, wherever those letters came from. Since we are not allowed to forward your mail yet, and we don't have the authority to hold your mail. So when that happens, usually that's why it's important to have it reviewed with the clerk, because I give my customers an option. So I give them options. I would ask them, so are you okay that from today until 14 days, your mail is still gonna be delivered to the old address, even if you move out already? And then they would say, yeah, I'm fine with it, because it's my mother anyway, so she will send it back to me wherever I am, so I'm okay with it. So that was okay. But some of them would be like, no, because I moved out already, and then the apartment is vacant and I don't know who is going in there, and I want my mail to be delivered to the new address. But since there is a 14 days wait period on this one, I recommend them to fill up this one. Authorization to hold mail. So in the authorization to hold mail, right here, this form is usually being used when people move or have to travel, like for a weekend or what. But this hold mail is good for a maximum of 30 days. So this is mostly for the people who have to go away or whatnot. But we use this for the change of address as well, because this one gives us the authority, the USPS, the authority to hold your mail while you are waiting for the change of address. So this is a yellow card. It says authorization to hold mail. And then you have to fill up here your name and then the address. The address that we are holding the mail is the address that you filled in the old address right here on the first one, on the first portion here. Here, old address. So that is the house that you're living, you're moving out. So right here, usually I just put it here, beginning date. If you filed for it today and the mail went out already and you want it to begin tomorrow, I put it the date tomorrow. And then ending date, usually I put it hold for COA. Meaning hold for change of address. So I highlight that, I put that hold for change of address. So whenever we get the change of address, that's the time that the hold ends and everything is being forwarded to the new address already. So the mailman, on the mailman's part, they get this and then they know that right away. So when it says hold for change of address, meaning you filed for a change of address already and you want to hold your mail because you don't want it to be delivered in the old address anymore because you're not there, and you want to hold it in the post office until the change of address kicks in. So that's what you're usually gonna do with the filing of a change of address and a hold mail. And then let's talk about when you made a mistake of the change of address. Let's say you have a change of address and you made a mistake of putting it as entire family, and now your brother's mail are going to your new address and your father's mail are going to your new address, and your father, let's say, is not happy about it. So your father complains to the post office that why is your mail being forwarded, and the only person that could actually make a correction for that forwarding change of address order is the person who filed for the original change of address. So the father had to tell the daughter, or the brother had to tell whoever it is that, hey, you're gonna have to file for a correction of a change of address because you're getting my mail since you made a mistake on it. So this is an official change or correction to mail forwarding right here. So this is being reviewed to you with the clerk, or mostly supervisors. Supervisors are handling this. So they will give this to you. You can file for a correction of the change of address. And if you made a mistake of the name, or if you made a mistake of change to interfamily instead of individual, you have an option here, or change to individual only. If you happen to put it as interfamily and then you want it to be just your mail, you have an option here. And change of address order for resume delivery, meaning you change your mind and you want to go back to your old house, and you change your mind. So you can file for a correction of change of address order. And that's all for today. And thank you for watching my video.